Magic is something both simple and difficult to understand. In media, magic is portrayed in so many different ways that there is no one singular definition to define it. It amazes you with what it can do, whether it be giving you supernatural powers, hurling balls of fire, changing an object into something else, or even disrupting reality. You name it, and it can do it. And Disney's The Owl House is no different. Magic is capable of doing so many things, but what if I told you that the Owl House's magic isn't actually magic? Hello there, I am Shira Fan 5.2, and I will be discussing and dissecting the magic within the Owl House.
Now, here's what I think some of you are thinking. The magic in the show is magic. There's no hidden thing behind it. Although it appears that way to most of the people watching, I've thought of the opposite. This idea that magic within the Owl House is more science than magic was stirring in my brain for a while that I thought of finally doing a video about it discussing my theory. Now, what started my theory was when Ida first described what magic was to Luce.
Now, humans think magic is made out of thin air, but that's stupid. Everything comes from something. Let me ask you, kid, where do you think magic comes from?
From the heart?
Actually, you're right. It comes from a sack of magic bile attached to a witch's heart.
Oh, gross! Can I keep that?
No.
But how can I, little old Luce, do magic if I don't have a magic bile sack?
You know, I'm not actually sure.
To reiterate what Ida had said, magic does not come from nowhere, but is a naturally produced substance, maybe a liquid, that naturally occurs within the bodies of the residences on the Boiling Isles. The way they obtain this quote-unquote magic is from the Titan, a large creature that somehow died. At some point, people started inhabiting the Titan's carcass. The Titan had magic embedded in it that was so great that the new inhabitants absorbed it and now naturally produce it. This goes with the first part of my theory. Not the first part I thought of, but it helped in gathering evidence for such. To many or everybody, this is obviously an act of the theory of evolution. In my words, this is how it works. A species will genetically change depending on the environmental challenges the species encounters. It will then pass these genetics down to the next generation. The cycle of passing these genes down from generation to generation will take an enormous amount of time, but the genes will eventually evolve, and the new generation will be adapted to its environment. Just like it is stated in the show, the inhabitants adapted to their new environment and passed down traits that eventually led them to being able to use magic, which there was a plethora of on the island. They had adapted to the point where they can produce magic on their own. Even in places without magic like the human world, we actually see Lilith use magic while Luce can't with her glyphs. So this is pretty much basic knowledge to most Owl House fans. That much is known. But what is it exactly? Given what we've been shown, there is no scientific way to explain this stuff, like making frozen ice instantaneously, creating sludge monsters, or even summoning the dead to fight plant girls. By the way, Willow, I love you so much. But here's what I'm suggesting. The substance produced within the Boiling Isles inhabitants is a polymorphic form of energy. Without using the word polymorphic, for those who don't know it, I'm saying that the energy within the inhabitants can be made into nearly any substance or form, limited only by the user's imagination. Now, the next few things I'm about to talk about, take it with a grain or more of salt, preferably a whole pound. I'm in no way a scientific genius, more of an amateur who is an amateur at being an amateur. That tells you just how not good at science I truly am. I'm just having fun thinking deeply about this idea of mine. I even asked my science teacher about this stuff, and it was rather insightful, despite her not being the best number one teacher around there. Anyway, so, polymorphism in nature is when a species is capable of either being one way or another. An example I got from Wikipedia is that a jaguar can be of either a lighter color or a darker color, just like most people. Both colors are possible, but by random, only one color will come out, only having the potential of being light or dark. This same logic can be applied to magic. The only difference being is that it's not random, it is controlled. Now, turning energy into mass is, from what I've gathered, just really not possible. But keep in mind that I'm discussing what a fictional substance could maybe be. So, just hang in there and let me talk about things I don't fully understand. Now, if this magic is not an energy that's being turned into a mass, then it might be a liquid. Water is polymorphic, being able to be a liquid, which is water, a solid, which is ice, or a gas, which is vapor. Assuming this magic liquid has special properties, it could have the potential to be different variations of matter. So that's what it could be. But what is it made of? It could be this magic liquid is a form of super stem cells, or just regular ones, maybe. Stem cells are a type of cell capable of dividing and turning into any cell the body needs replacing. Stem cells can be found in anything living, like animals, bugs, and even plants. A problem with this, though, is that stem cells aren't a liquid, but this problem is then fixed with the inclusion of plasma. No, I'm not talking about the plasma that makes lasers, going pew pew pew. I'm talking about the plasma that is inside your body. Blood is not made solely of blood cells, but also plasma. The plasma is the liquid part of your body. This is what allows your blood cells to travel around and give your body oxygen. So, these super stem cells within the bowling alle's inhabitants are carried by plasma, and in some way, the people who use magic can use these stem cells on the outside of their body, perhaps turning the liquid plasma into a gas and or vapor. So, definitely possible. Fun fact, survivors of COVID 19 are able to give their antibodies to those infected through the transportation of their plasma, helping them recover. If you have survived COVID 19, then I'd suggest donating plasma in order to help others. So maybe the magic is a form of stem cells, but what if these cells can also turn into chemicals, and that stem cells maybe aren't even a part of the process from glowing liquid to whatever you make with the magic? Supporting evidence would be with the sleeping spell. Sleeping can be described in a few different ways, but my point that I'm trying to make here is that there's more to it than just not being conscious. A chemical called melatonin is released and activated whenever someone is about to fall asleep. This chemical is pretty much what allows a person, say you, to sleep. So when Ida used a sleeping spell on the Slither Beast, the magic cast out must have been turned into melatonin. Not only that, but a lot of it. In the world of the Owl House, spells are not casted by using a wand. Instead, they are casted by making a casting circle. A circle of various sizes made with your finger, or in any case, with your feet. The bigger the spell circle is, the stronger the spell. And if my theory is correct, then the more chemicals that are present within the casting circle. Ida had cast a large sleeved spell to put down the Slither Beast, which is a very large creature. Bit bigger than an elephant, so we can definitely say that there was a lot of melatonin there. But in a later episode, Ida used the same spell, but on a smaller scale, on Willow, when her memories were burned. The amount of melatonin to put someone like Willow to sleep would obviously be much smaller compared to the Slither Beast, a way bigger creature. So that's all that I could think of for what the magic could be explained scientifically. I was thinking of pure energy being turned into matter, but that is just plain impossible. Maybe. I'm not the smartest person on the internet, or say Rick from Rick and Morty. Before I conclude, I would like to mention a smaller theory I thought of while making this video. Whether it's obvious or not, I think the magic or super stem cells, which I'm calling the magic because that seems really cool to me, are the reason for the Boiling Isle's inhabitants to be so vastly different from one another. Assuming you've watched the show, which is likely why you're watching this video, you know that there is almost no two characters that look the exact same except for the main cast. My theory could explain the variations of species and creatures like Basha, who has pink skin, magenta hair, and 3 eyes. Braxis, whose mouth is, well, all of his head. Aline, whose head is just an eyeball. Barkis, who is literally a dog who has sentience. Celine, whose head is a croissant with 1 eye. Or that one kid with an open mouth atop their head. And I could go on, like that goat boy with 1 eye and 1 horn. And just, there are so many variations. But that's also cool, because honestly, the character design for this show is fantastic. But there's one thing that the magic of the Boiling Isles nor me can explain, which is something that we can all agree on. Hootie.
Hey, guess what's been in my mouth that I'm about to throw up? The
Thank you for taking the time to listen to me rant about this stuff. Feel free to tell me if I'm wrong or maybe if I'm right. I'll accept any feedback, even if it hurts my soul a bit. Let me know if you would like me to make 2 follow-up videos explaining how my theory works with all the 9 different types of magic, although 8 because one of them is just a coven, and how magic kind of makes you live longer. Once again, thanks for listening.